video. I've been wanting to do it for a little while, and it's not going to be a lesson or a tutorial or anything like that. It's just going to let you know how I do things and maybe familiarize you if you've never flatbedded before and you want to get into it. But this load has a little bit of everything on it. It had some challenges to it, and so I ran into strapping issues, chaining stuff, weight distribution, all kinds of stuff, and so this turned out to be a real good load to do this on. So a little bit of info. The load was originally supposed to weigh 40,000 pounds, and it's going to California. So California, if you're taking anything into California, you got to be conscious of the weight distribution and the kingpin law. So normally on a flatbed trailer, you have a spread axle in the back, or a step deck, and on a spread axle you can put up to 40,000 pounds on that back spread axles. Now my trailer is a 53-foot step deck, and since the kingpin law in California states that you can't be over 40 feet from the kingpin to the center of your back axle, I have to move my tandems up since they're adjustable. And van drivers have to do the same thing. If you look on these vans, you'll usually see a mark on the back of that trailer. They have to have their center of that back axle in front of that to be legal. I've never heard personally anybody getting a ticket, but I don't take chances. So when you do that on the flatbed or the step deck, when I have to move my axle up and it changes the weight distribution, I can't put 40,000 pounds in the back anymore. I'm limited to 34,000. And so when I get over there to pick up this load that was supposed to be 40,000 pounds, the first thing this guy asks me is, how much can you legally carry? And that's definitely not something I want somebody to say to me. So I had to try to explain to the guy, yes, I can get over 46,000 pounds on here, but it's going to be a real challenge to distribute that weight evenly. And he didn't really understand, but he was willing to give it a shot however I wanted to do it. That's all I was asking for. I said, let's give it a shot. Way station. So, he had a picture of a truck that had brought that load in there, but the load was slightly different and the trailer was different. So I told him, we can't go by that. Just tell me what there was 3 pieces. I wanted him to tell me what each one weighed, and he guessed. That's another thing you don't want to hear. Somebody, truck bypass weigh station. Awesome. So you don't want to hear anybody guessing at the weights, especially when you're getting that close to your limit. So the way they wanted to do it was the exact opposite of how I wanted it. And when they load my trailer and I tie that thing down, I'm responsible for it. And if anything is damaged when I get to the other end, I can't say they loaded it wrong. It's on me. So I made them do it my way, and I'm very glad I did, because I would have been going back 3 or 4 times to the scale and would have ended up having to change it all around anyway. So I went to the scale the first time and I was 2,600 pounds over on my trailer axles. So what made it, on a van, it wouldn't have been a big deal. We'd just slide the tandems and we'd have been gone. I wouldn't have had to go back. But flatbed, you have to go back and move the freight. And so I went back and I told them, move that back piece forward about 4 feet. And they ended up moving it forward about 6 feet, which wasn't a big deal because we were just guessing anyway. And of course, it was one of those situations where there were probably 5 or 6 people there, and they were all truck driving experts, from way back. knew everything about everything. But again, this is my load. If they aren't going to load it like I want it, then I'm not going to take it. So I'm responsible for it. So they moved it up 6 feet. I said, good to go, let's go weigh it again. I went back up there. This time I was 200 pounds over on the front axle, the drive axles. And so my first thought was, hey, I've got an APU. Most states give me some leeway on that. I should be good to go. But then I wasn't quite sure if the APU actually they would take off axle weight, or if it was just from the overall weight. So I didn't want to chance it, so I just moved all my tarps from the front of my trailer to the back of the trailer, which was about 400 pounds worth of tarps and about 50 pounds of ice and snow that had collected on there too. So I knew I had no worries after that point. I knew I was legal. And if you don't know about the APU law, there is a chart, and thank you, Keith, for pointing that out to me. There is a chart. You can get it online, and each state tells you what they will allow. And California is one of those states that doesn't allow anything. You would think they'd be the ones to give you some leeway, but they don't. So I got it legal where I didn't have to worry about it. I had everything tied down, so we were good to go. And so when I stop up here, I'll give you the grand tour on how, give you some terms that I know, and on why I did things a certain way. And there's 100 different ways to doing all these things. I understand that, and some of you are gonna have your ways of doing it, and you know, this isn't legal, that's not legal, and I've heard it all. You know, from you can't twist your straps because that's illegal, and I've read that there's an actual handbook that flatbedders can go by, and it's signed off by the DOT. And so I've read it backwards and forwards, and it doesn't specifically state any, you know, it's kind of vague on a lot of things. And but I try to do things 100% legal, and more importantly, I try to do it the absolute safest way I can, so that I don't have anything rolling into the truck with me, or, you know, tumbling off the side or anything like that. So I'll take you back in just a few minutes and show you how I did stuff. All right, so here we are. This is what they call the jib, and it's about 11 feet long, and so I kind of had to put it on here a little cockeyed. So what I had to do with this is what I call a gut strap. You have a gut strap and a belly strap and a cinch strap, but this is what they call a gut strap. You're basically wrapping the strap all the way around this piece, and I don't know if you can see, it's not very wide, about a foot wide, but I did that because I didn't want this piece to move side to side, and they didn't want me to put a chain over the top of it. I don't know why, because it's all chipped up anyway. I would have put some cushioning on it, but anyway, so I did a gut strap and I overlapped it, and that sort of locks it in there. You get it nice and tight. And I guess there are two different kinds of gut straps. This one, since I went over the top and came back and went, you know, over the top again, I'm getting more downward pressure on this, so it's holding it down as well as holding it in place. I could have gone underneath and then come around, and that, you know, people usually do that when they're trying to strap some pipe and keep pipe together. But this, I wanted to do two things at once. I wanted to keep it from moving, and I wanted to hold it down, so I went over the top. And that's just a regular strap. I didn't necessarily need this strap, but to make it look legal to any DOT who might take a glance at it, I went ahead and threw that over there. But on the back, I just have some chains holding that to the back there. And so that's definitely one of those tricky ones where you have to check it every so often. And here we go. This is the two crane weights. Let me get on the other side. Before we switch sides, let me show you what I did over here. So originally they wanted to put these crane weights, just stack them one level, one there and then one back there on the back. And if I'd have let them do it that way, I would have never got this load balanced as far as weight. So and even if I could have, I wanted it stacked this way. And the reason is, when the lower something is to the deck, the less of an angle you can get on it, and the less pressure you can put down on that thing. So say for instance, you got a piece of metal just sitting straight on the deck, it's only an inch thick. You can throw a strap over it, but you're not going to get much pressure down on it. But when something's tall, you can get more pressure on it. So that's what I wanted them to do, stack these two together. And as you can see, I went through this little channel here, and not only that, I threw a strap in the middle, again, make it look like it's DOT legal. And this is what you would call, I guess, a belly strap right here. This is a good example. So if you've got multiple layers of something, wood, pipe, or anything, normally you'd want to throw a belly strap in there in the middle to make sure, you know, you're getting a good securement on all the levels. And I did that on this one, not necessary, but I like to do a little overkill. So that's how I strap those, and I'll go around to the other side and show you this big turn. All right, I'm trying to do this real quick because I'm getting dusted with all the trucks coming through, but this is the turntable. That thing weighs 21,000 pounds. And this is what they call the direct chain method, if you can hear me, hopefully. And there's indirect and there's direct. And I'll go around and I'll show you. Right. As you can see, I threw my tarps on the back of there. That's a workout, just moving those things. But here we go. So, even though this is just one chain I used, as you can see, going up, through, and down, it's still a direct method, because I came back on the chain right there, ran it through that eye. So that's a direct method. So as you can see how old these things, that's really important. Keep them oiled. So the indirect method would be this right here. Just like throwing a strap over the top. You know, it's not attaching directly to it, it's just holding pressure down on it. So that's indirect. And these are the counterweights for a crane. Okay, so hopefully you were able to see what I was doing there. I had to be in kind of a hurry. I was getting dusted. People in that lot weren't slowing down at all. So just to explain a little bit better, the gut strap that I put on there, you saw that I ran it over the top, around and back over the top and over to the other side. That's actually doing a couple things. Not only is it holding that piece in place, excuse me, it's also putting downward force on that. If I had run that gut strap underneath, then over the top, and then back underneath to the other side of the trailer, I would have put no downward force on that piece of equipment. It would have just, basically you use that when you want to hold material together, like pipes or whatever else. They might stack a bunch of them and you don't want it rattling around the trailer. So there's another way to hold things in place, and that's using the cinch strap. And to do a cinch strap, you come from one side of the trailer, go over the piece of equipment, and come straight back to the same side of the trailer. And you can obviously figure that out. Whichever side you're on, it'll keep it from going to the opposite side. And sometimes I've done it where I've had to use 3 cinch straps, one in the middle, and then go to the opposite side of the trailer and use 2 cinch straps like that for some just odd stuff that they put on the trailer. And as far as, for example, that front piece, the jib, you saw that it was stacked. It was put on the trailer at an odd angle and kind of off to one side there to make it legal. It wasn't sticking out over the edge or sticking out over the back and hitting the crane weights. So when something is offset like that or uneven, you can't just throw straps over it, because as soon as you tighten it down, you've got different angles on each side of that strap. So when you're tightening that strap down, you create greater force on one side than you would the other, and it's always going to try to move that piece of equipment to the middle of that strap and even out the pressure. So if you do it that way, first of all, it's never going to be stay tight. You're going to be stopping, and it's always going to be trying to move whatever you strap down to the middle, and it's always going to move it out of position. And trust me, I learned the hard way. So you can use either the cinch straps or the gut straps to try to keep that thing where it's at. So, you can look up the handbook online, that shows you how to secure cargo, and it will go into the basics on, how to put chains on coils, all the very basic things. There's nothing in that handbook that's going to show you how to tie down some of this oil field equipment that you get, or how to keep barrels. The barrels are a pain in the butt. There are some ways that you can help to keep them on the trailer. That you can have them put pallets on top of them. If you've got some V boards, that's another thing that you need to be familiar with. But there are some real challenges to some of this stuff they put on the trailer, and I certainly do not know all the tricks. I learn something new all the time. I'm always, when somebody passes me, I take a look at their load, and sometimes I'm saying, oh my God, how are they going to get to where they're going? And sometimes I make a mental note thinking, man, that's really good there. And I try to keep an open mind and learn from anybody. So hopefully some of these things just kind of familiarize you with some of these terms and what kind of people are talking about when they're talking flatbed.